Okay, Barry. Well, what video are we going to be doing today, buddy? You know what? That is a good idea. I should check out some of the comments, see what people are talking about for Wano or Onigashima. Get my finger on the pulse. Respond to that. Good idea, Barry. All right, let's see. Let's check out these comments here. Let's see. Oh, here's one about you. Barry is the single most amazing character in the world. Well, check it out, Barry. You got a compliment. You're a character. Barry is the single most amazing person in the world. Okay, yeah, whatever. Tekking, you should just give up and let Barry run the channel from now on. Okay, that's clearly facetious. I mean, come on now. I mean, I've only been around for what, like 11 years? You've been around for barely one? I mean, come on. That's just silly. Barry is God. Barry is life. Barry is my father. Barry is my mother. Barry is God and life and my mother. 2 hours later. Barry, I love that new home repair video you did. Are you doing home repair videos? Do you have another channel you haven't been telling me about? 3 hours later. Barry, I love you. Barry, you're amazing. Barry, I want you to have my... Okay, here's something. Every song lyric in the world should be replaced with Barry's name or some variation thereof. And then he goes on to replace every word in Smash Mouth's All-Star with your name. Oh, God. Okay, can we get anything that is, like, not Barry-related? Anything not Barry-related. Kizaru versus Blackbeard. Okay, fine, whatever, we'll do that! Kizaru versus Blackbeard video. Lock in! Let's do this! Just gonna push you a little bit more off to the side here. Yeah, that's good. Okay, hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking and Barry here today. So, this is something I've been requested a couple of times before. I've definitely mentioned this in videos. These two characters really haven't had a direct interaction with each other, but the nature of their devil fruits kind of precludes to the fact that they might fight at some point in the story, or at the very least, it's worth discussing how a battle between these two characters would go. So we see in the story that there's some devil fruits that have just a natural advantage or a natural weakness against other devil fruits. Case in point, perfect example, God Eneru with his mighty Goro Goro no Mi, the power of electricity, nay, the raw energy of nature, lightning itself at his fingertips, where he could just like strike an island down with a mighty karate chop, stopped in his tracks by a plucky rubber kid wearing a straw hat, because Luffy, of course, has the Gumu Gumu no Mi, and rubber is insulating against electricity, and, you know, there you go. It doesn't matter how many volts, how many amps that Eneru just shoved up right in Luffy's chest, he was able to take it all. Boo! Yeah! Now, of course, there was other ways Eneru could get around that with, like, electrical heating and stuff like that, you know, attaching the gold to Luffy's body and, like, hardening it, so there was ways around that, but it doesn't, you know, take away from the fact the natural weakness of Eneru's Goro Goro was Luffy's Gumu Gumu. We see other, you know, devil fruits clashing, you know, again in the series. Like we see during Marineford, we had a brief clash with Ace's Mera Mera and Aokiji's Hia Hia no Mi, his chili fruit. So that was really cool. You know, ice and fire clashing. That was really neat. Mera Mera no Mi and Smoker's Smoke fruit, they clashed at Alabasta, and the way they talked about it seemed like, oh, we're in a deadlock. You know, one of us is neither going to win or lose if we keep with this, you know, smoke and fire show back and forth. But a good example of complete opposites, and something that a lot of people picked up on after we found out what Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi ability was at Bonaro Island. That was right after Eni's lobby. You know, give it a couple arcs, we get to Marineford, or no, we get to Sabaody first. You know, Kizaru shows up there at Sabaody. He's got the power of the Pika Pika no Mi, or the Glint Glint fruit, or the Light fruit, and I think a lot of people could put 2 and 2 together at that point, like, okay, well, who would win in a fight? We have Kizaru's light against Blackbeard's darkness clashing. How would that go? Now, right out of the gate, you could actually say, you know, one would win easily, you know, on both ends of that. You could say that Blackbeard would easily defeat Kizaru, because during his fight with Ace, when Blackbeard was explaining his Logia to him, he went down the list and he's like, you know, darkness can absorb anything, Ace. You know, it can absorb bullets, swords, fire, lightning, light itself. Everything gets dragged into the darkness, okay? Because his ability is quite literally like a black hole or a black void. He literally does have have an ability called Black Hole, right? Black Whirlpool as well to suck people in. And of course, anybody that comes in contact with Blackbeard whenever he touches you loses the ability to use their Devil Fruit power, which is of course a very OP ability. I mean, granted, he does have to grab you in order to activate the power, but he has other abilities to drag you in, and it's also possible that that was 2 years ago. That was like right after Blackbeard obtained the Yami Yami no Mi, so you could argue he really didn't train with it that much, but now it's 2 years later. Maybe Blackbeard might have some other kind of ability where he doesn't need to physically grab you to turn off your Devil Fruit power. Maybe it's like he creates like a black sphere around him or something, and then everything within the sphere or within the dome, whoever has Devil Fruit powers can't use them except for himself. It might be something like that, who knows? But you could also say on the opposite end of that, you could say, well, yeah, that's true, Blackbeard could suck in the power of Kizaru's light, so no matter what attack comes at him, if Blackbeard can see it coming, and he can open up, the black vortex or the black hole or whatever, the attack is going to get sucked in no matter what it is. That's already been confirmed, okay? So, if Blackbeard's going up against Kizaru, and Kizaru's right in front of him, and he just, charges up his laser or whatever, and just, fires a laser straight at Blackbeard, if Blackbeard knows, oh, that's Kizaru, black vortex, and then Kizaru just fires a laser right into the black hole, it's gonna get sucked in. But that's not how Kizaru fights. I mean, maybe that's how he starts a fight. I could see, Kizaru just nonchalantly just walking down the, town square or whatever and just man, this town's pretty nice. I think I'm gonna go over there and get me some donuts from that bakery. And then all of a sudden, it's the Blackbeard Pirates! Admiral, please help us! And then, Blackbeard shows up. He's walking down the street too, headed toward the same bakery. He's like, Zeha, men! Let's go get some donuts! And they turn a corner and they just see Kizaru there. And freaking Kizaru, being the guy he is, the unclear justice, unpredictable dude that he is, he might just turn his head and be like, huh? Oh, hey, if it isn't Marshall D. Teach, one of the Yonko. Who'da thunk it you'd be here? Well, okay, gotta bring in. He might, shoot off a few pot shots at Blackbeard, fire a laser or two. Maybe Blackbeard, if he knows right away, it's like, that's Kizaru, Black Vortex, and suck in the lasers. But if Kizaru were to get serious, Blackbeard's here. It's like, oh, it's Kizaru, I got it, sing, 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 just gets kicked in the back of the head, because Kizaru is quite simply the fastest character in the entirety of One Piece. Even if you don't want to get into the whole debate on whether or not he could truly reach light speed, it doesn't matter. He's the fastest character by far in One Piece, okay? So, he sees Blackbeard, Kizaru could quite literally charge up a laser, fire it at Blackbeard, even if Blackbeard is responsive enough to throw up a black whirlpool, a black vortex to suck it in. The same exact moment that laser is getting sucked into the black vortex, Kizaru could have zipped around, grabbed a donut, and then spun all the way around Blackbeard to kick him in the back of the head. He could have easily done that. And we know that this is possible, at least during the fight with Ace, and also during his fight with Luffy at Impel Down very briefly. Blackbeard can still get hit, and he explains that is because his Logia is not like other Logias. He can't just turn his entire body intangible. Alright, so he's not like that. So in order to physically stop an attack, he has to, raise up his hand and, activate one of the Yami Yami no Mi's techniques in order to absorb the attack. So that means he has to kind of have a general idea where the attack is coming from, and his reflexes have to be quick enough in order to actually, raise his hand and do that, or, slam his hand on the ground and make the black hole, or just suck everything in. He has to physically do that stuff. He can't just, once again, this was right after he got the Yami Yamis. If we're gonna do the fight with Kizaru and Blackbeard, before the time skip, I think most people could probably see Kizaru kicking his ass. I mean, Kizaru might, he might be surprised by Blackbeard's ability, maybe some of his lasers might get sucked in, but at the end of the day, Blackbeard just got the fruit. He's not an expert with the fruit yet. Yeah, Blackbeard might have been reading about the Yami Yami no Mi for years, and he knows that was the fruit that he wanted, and he might have been thinking of all the cool stuff he could have done with it, but that's a far cry from, thinking what you're gonna do with a fruit, and actually getting your hands on it, and actually having that power at your fingertips. And the way that Blackbeard also talked about it, it's a very unique Logia, so there's probably a bunch of different rules with the Yami Yami no Mi that are not even like with other Logias, like something that's just unique to him, right? And Blackbeard is a unique individual already, right? Of course, you can get other theories involved, like that multiple soul theory he has. Like he has multiple different souls living inside of him, and because of that, maybe that's like Sensui from freaking Yu Yu Hakusho. Maybe that cuts down the time it takes to master a fruit. Maybe he already awakened it already. But you know, at the very least, when we saw him fighting against Ace at Banaro Island when he recently obtained the fruit, only a couple weeks or maybe a month or so having the fruit's abilities, Ace was still able to like hit him with fire, and you know the he took a direct hit from that, and he was on the ground and shrieking in pain, and he had to summon the darkness to actually come out and suck away the flames. And Ace still, like when he was being sucked in with the black vortex, Ace created those giant, you know, the spears of fire. I think that was Saint Elmo's fire was the name of that attack, and he like threw them at Blackbeard, and Blackbeard still got hit by them. All right, I think Blackbeard like smacked him in the side of the neck and knocked him down, but he got hit as well, and he was on the ground screaming. Blackbeard has a lot of defense. He has a lot of endurance. It's just that his tolerance for pain is very, very low. So if he gets hit even just a little bit, he's going to feel that pain probably like 5-fold, 10-fold. It's going to be like a lot of pain. But at the end of the day, his body itself is not really harmed. However, that pain is still an issue. You can't just overlook that, because when you're shrieking in pain, you're not going to be really able to focus very much. You might be able to get other attacks off on you, okay? So yeah, I don't really think it's any much of a question when it comes to pre-timeskip. You know, unless Kizaru does something like where he plays around with Blackbeard a little bit, and he doesn't like just go in for the attack to knock him out or kill him right away. Like I said, Kizaru at first, he might just be playing around with him, but I mean, the only way I can maybe see this going downhill for Kizaru is if Blackbeard just, you know, touches the ground, like that thing he did at Banaro Island where he sucked up the whole town, where he created like this just massive black abyss, this void of darkness on the ground of Banaro Island. But that took a really long time for him to make, and Ace was just polite enough to sit there and let him do it. You know, Blackbeard was like, "Let me show you this power, Ace." And Ace is just kind of like, you're not even coming close to me with that. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm just gonna show you what this power can do. I'm not aiming at you yet." Blah 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 blah. And then it finally covers like the entire town, and then he sucks it all in and just liberation. You know, that's what he can do. So yeah, I mean, like, given how Kizaru is, if Kizaru were to sit back and wait, like, I wonder what you're doing, Blackbeard. I think I'm just gonna chill out and see what this is. You know, as Blackbeard's doing this, he gets the entire terrain, you know, like hundreds of meters all around them covered in darkness. That might do a little bit better in protecting him against Kizaru. But the point is, like, even if Blackbeard tried to do the exact same thing that he did against Ace, where he raised up his hand, Black Vortex, and then, like, Ace got, like, you know, sucked in, even if he tried that, I feel like Kizaru could very easily dodge. You know, the time that it takes for Blackbeard to, like, raise his hand and start the technique, Kizaru could already be half a mile away. You know, he could be half a mile away, or he could be right behind you to just, BAM! You know, light punch you in the back of the head. You know? And so, I mean, also being an admiral, maybe that lends him to have some more knowledge about devil fruits. So yeah, the Yami Yami no Mi is very unique, but it was still inside of the devil fruit encyclopedia. You know, honestly speaking, in the Marines, like, because the Marines know devil fruits exist. You know, most of the world thinks devil fruits, you know, those are just mythical. Those don't really exist. But, you know, the Marines definitely know they exist. So you think, like, every Marine should at least study the encyclopedia to, like, in case you run into the Buki Buki no Mi, here's what you do. This is what it can do. You know? So if the Yami Yami no Mi is listed in the damn encyclopedia, I think that they should understand, like, okay, that's the Yami Yami no Mi Blackbeard has. That's a very dangerous power. Okay, we should, you know, take care of this guy pretty quickly, right? He's a pirate after all, right? So that's before the time skip. I really don't think Kizaru would have much of a problem, even if he, you know, let his guard down and he did the exact same thing that he did with Ace. He drawed him in, he grabbed Kizaru. Kizaru can't turn his body into light. He's still got hockey and everything with his, you know, at that point, you know, Blackbeard doesn't really have hockey pre-time skip, I guess, but, you know, Kizaru certainly does. But once again, we're not getting hockey or anything involved. We're just talking like devil fruit against devil fruit here. Even if Blackbeard got a hold of Kizaru and got like one attack off on him, I think Kizaru could still manage to escape the grasp and then, like, oh, okay, that's what you can do. You know, Yata mirror. Wait, where's he at? Where's that guy at? And then just gets slammed from 15 different directions or gets shot with a laser from the back. And with the low pain tolerance that Blackbeard has, man, he is going to be on the ground, writhing in pain as Batman turned back into Bruce Wayne. And Kizaru's also Superman in this context because he can fly super fast, okay? So yeah, that's the way I see this going down pre-timeskip. Now, post-timeskip gets a little bit interesting, because we don't know that much about what Blackbeard has improved on. We know that he has the Gura no Mi, but let's not get that involved right now. We're not getting another Devil Fruit involved. We're just talking about the powers of the Yami Yami against the Pika Pika, which would have the edge, okay? If Blackbeard does have some upgraded form of that ability, where he doesn't need to physically touch you to take away your Devil Fruit, then we might have a problem for Kizaru, because if Blackbeard can create some kind of area of effect ability, and he can do it fast, this might be also something similar to like Black Clover, like Yami's dark magic against like Leak's light magic or Patri's light magic, where the major drawback there is, yeah, the two can clash with each other, but the dark magic is way, way slower than the light magic. Kind of the same thing with Blackbeard here, where his abilities are very powerful, but it takes a long time for him to, like, summon up the black hole or raise up his arm and create the black vortex and stuff. But if Blackbeard could get beyond that weakness, if he could just be like, if he knew Kizaru was coming, it would also help to have some prior awareness, like, Kizaru's coming to the Hachinosu Island, we better prepare. You know, if they knew that in advance, and then Blackbeard creates this, like, you know, maybe a giant black dome or, you know, sphere surrounding the island, and Kizaru would have to enter that sphere in order to attack Blackbeard, and it's like anyone that enters the sphere loses their Devil Fruit powers. Okay, then we got pretty much just a fight against Kizaru with his Haki, against Blackbeard facing off with his Yami Yami no Mi, his Gura no Mi, and I'm also assuming Blackbeard knows Haki at this point. That would put Kizaru at the disadvantage. Kizaru would still have an advantage in terms of experience and probably Haki, his like advanced armament Haki and stuff like that, and observation, but Blackbeard would have a Haki as well, plus 2 Devil Fruits at his disposal. That is the only way I see this going down. Either that, or Blackbeard's abilities are maybe not so big that it creates like that giant like area of effect, but at least they're a lot larger. So, like, when Kizaru starts to, like, you know, Yasakani no Magatama just air raid him from above, maybe Blackbeard could just, like, create, like, a black, you know, like darkness blanket or something, and just shroud him in, like, a dark haze. And then all of the Yasakani no Magatamas just get sucked into that. Basically just increasing how he controls that darkness, that, like, miasma around him at all times, okay? If he can throw it up quick, and he could use it like a shield, or like armor, or like a blanket, like covering him in it, and he can do that fast, so to the point where Kizaru has to get close quarters to fight him, and it's just like, oh, the Yasakani no Magatama is not working. Okay, I'll create my light sword, and then go attack him, and then the light sword hits the darkness, and the light immediately gets all sucked into that, and then that might give Blackbeard an opportunity to, like, reach out and grab him. If, let's say, even after the time skip, even if he awakened the fruit, you still have to physically grab the person to suck away their Devil Fruit powers. He just has better control over the darkness itself, and he can throw it up. Basically, that would render him impossible to hit with any projectile attack. Now, that might seem kind of OP, but also consider Blackbeard as kind of being set up as, like, the final villain of the story, basically, is one of the final villains of the story. So, you know, having an ability that's like, projectiles aren't going to do shit against me. You got to get up and personal to fight me. And when you get up and personal and fight me, I grab you, you lose your Devil Fruit powers. So, bring it on. That's how we're going to do this, okay? And Blackbeard himself is physically strong. You know, even Ace said, you know, when Blackbeard punched him in the side of the neck, Ace was like, man, that dude almost damn near, like, broke my neck with that attack. So he has that going on there, augmented with armament Haki, sure, yeah. So, I mean, it really just depends on how OP Blackbeard has gotten since the time skip, considering his status and everything like that. He also has the Will of D. You know, having an area of an effect ability that robs all users of Devil Fruits that enter the area, you know, that is ridiculously powerful, but for Blackbeard, that might make sense, right? It, like, comes down to, like, him and Luffy brawling, and it's, like, a final, like, just, it's not even Luffy using his Gamu Gamu Bone powers anymore. It's literally Luffy with no Devil Fruit going up against Blackbeard with 2 Devil Fruits, maybe more at that point. We don't know how many Devil Fruits he can have in his body. If he can have more than 1, then all bets are off. He might have 3 or more, who knows? And it's like Luffy can't use his Devil Fruit against him. He's going to have to rely on other tricks to fight him. Might be something like that. That would be a problem for anybody. You know, that would be a problem for anybody, not even just Luffy or Kizaru. That would be a problem for Aokiji, for Akainu, for Sengoku. That would be a problem for anyone if he could just do that, and he could do that quick. But if Kizaru was smart and he got the drop on post-timeskip Blackbeard, Kizaru is still faster. Even if Blackbeard learned an ability where he can, like, let's say, at the snap of a fingers, he can summon up the darkness to completely surround him as, like, an ultimate shield. Like, even if Blackbeard could move that fast post-timeskip, which not even a guarantee he could do that much, but even if he could, Kizaru is still faster. Kizaru could still, like, oh, here comes Kizaru! If Kizaru is fast enough, and he's like, I'm going for the kill shot right away, laser right between the eyes, you know, it's just like, Kizaru's dead. That would be if he was fast enough. Now, then again, that's in theory, okay? This is an anime we're talking about. This is manga we're talking about here. So, even if you look at a character and you say, man, it would make a lot of sense if the character just did this. Because you could also say that during Marineford. Like, remember when Luffy went Gear Second at Marineford and Kizaru was kind of just shooting him with lasers, and he's like, even in Gear Second, you know, Kizaru's like, you're too slow, Straw Hat. Remember the time Kizaru, he shot the laser to break the key. Luffy takes the key Hancock gave him to go unlock Ace's cuffs, and Kizaru's like, wait a second, and then fires the laser. You figure, like, if Kizaru really wanted to, he probably could just, you know, hit Luffy's body. I mean, Luffy didn't really know much about observation at this point. You think Kizaru should be way more devastating than he is, and he should be. It's just that maybe his fruit is just so ridiculously powerful and he's so damn fast. Oda was like, all right, I have to kind of like give him a personality where he's like basically really high, because otherwise he would just steamroll everybody. Because you'd figure during that war, like instead of just firing a laser at Luffy, you know, to attack him when he's in Gear Second, he was like, just fire the laser right through the head. Because you'd figure like, instead of shooting the freaking cuffs or the key or shooting Luffy and like blasting him from a distance or an explosion around him, just aim for the head, aim for the neck. You have lasers and you can move wicked fast, and it's just like, and your accuracy seems pretty much spot on when you want it to be. So just like, oh, Straw Hat Luffy. Game over. But it can't be game over because Luffy's the main character, and, you know, so... yeah, you know what I mean? Like, Kizaru should really be, like, you know, one of, if not the strongest characters in the story just because of his speed and the nature of his power, but we'll see, right, where it goes. But yeah, overall, unless Blackbeard gets some crazy new power that would allow him to deactivate Devil Fruit powers from a distance away, I give Kizaru the win on this. I give the light fruit the power. Now, that's only against Kizaru and Blackbeard. That is not against anybody that would possibly wield the Yami Yami no Mi and the Pika Pika no Mi. If two people that never had Devil Fruits before ate their individual fruits and they had no idea what the powers were, they just started to learn the powers, then more bets are off there. You know, because the, Kizaru has had his light fruit for, I think, you know, he had it when he captured Arlong, so that was like over a decade he's had his power. Blackbeard's only had his for 2. So, you know, Kizaru has way more battle experience here. And, you know, and that's the case with any Devil Fruit. Like look at Akainu's Magma Fruit, look at Ace's Maramara Fruit, okay? Let's say Ace had the fruit for 30 years. You know, he had his Maramara no Mi for 30 years, and he was like an expert with it, and he awakened it. And then let's say Akainu was the younger one in this timeline, and he just ate the Magu Magu no Mi like yesterday. Or maybe like give him a year to train with it a little bit, but I would still give Ace the edge there any day of the week, just because of the battle experience, the awakening, and it's like, I've had my fruit for longer. Yeah, yours might be technically hotter than mine, but I know all these crazy techniques and you don't. You know, I have all this experience and you don't. So that's how it goes for a lot of Devil Fruits. But today we were just talking about Kizaru fighting against Blackbeard and how that would go. But anyway, yeah. Let me know in the comments below how you would think Blackbeard could possibly defend against the Pika Pika no Mi. Kizaru using the Pika Pika no Mi in any way. Because, yeah, if Kizaru gets really serious, then Blackbeard's done. If Kizaru decides to just really take it easy and chill out and not do much of anything or be really slow with everything, then Blackbeard might have a better chance. But I think we've all seen Kizaru when the chips are down, he turns the knob up. He gets it moving. He light speed kicks you into the side of a wall, you know, as in the case with Hawkins. So, yeah, I think Kizaru would kick his ass. But I guess we'll see during the final battle if Blackbeard has some insane new power, and we'll see where that goes. Also, the final battle, like, let's say the Marines do show up to fight against the Yonko crew, Blackbeard's crew directly. It's not just going to be Blackbeard and Kizaru. He's going to have all of Blackbeard's crew together, you know. This one-on-one fight probably wouldn't happen this exact way, you know. It would be Shiryu there, Katarina Devon there, everybody else to help Blackbeard out, right? So, yeah. But, you know, let me know in the comments below how that goes, or if you'd want, you could just talk more about how Barry is the single most amazing creature that's ever existed. Fly away, Barry. Fly away.